Are the Chicago Bulls finally ready to stop being the NBA's punching bag and start punching back with their checkbook? Welcome back, everyone. It's time to have a serious, heart-to-heart conversation about the future of our beloved, and let's be honest, often frustrating, Chicago Bulls. We are staring down the barrel of a summer that could either be the turning point we've been praying for or another chapter in the book of mediocrity. But here is the kicker, folks. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, the Bulls hold all the cards. We are talking about major, game-changing financial power. The front office has cleared the decks, prioritizing expiring contracts at the deadline like they were preparing for a fire sale. But the goal wasn't to burn it down, it was to build it up. We are looking at nearly $70 million in projected cap space for the 2026 offseason. Let that number sink in. $70 million. That is not tinkering around the edges money. That is, let's go buy a new identity money. But money is useless if you don't know how to spend it, right? We have seen this franchise throw cash at problems before, only to end up with a roster that fits together like a square peg in a round hole. However, the whispers coming out of the league, specifically from sources like the Stein line, suggest a shift in philosophy. The signals are loud and clear. The Bulls are hunting for wing depth and, crucially, a presence underneath the basket. And this is where the plot thickens. We aren't just looking at the open market. We are looking at the restricted free agent market, a place where you have to be aggressive, bold, and willing to make other teams uncomfortable. The context here is vital. The Bulls have been in a downward spiral, a slow bleed of irrelevance that has left the United Center crowd more apathetic than angry. But this summer offers a lifeline. We could realistically have 7 open roster spots to fill. 7. That is half a team. This isn't a renovation, it's a gut rehab. And the targets we are hearing about? They aren't just random names. They are young, high-upside talents who fit a timeline that actually makes sense. We are talking about players who have been stuck in limbo with their current teams, players who are hungry for a bigger role, and players who address the 2 biggest gaping wounds in this roster: rim protection and perimeter defense. Imagine a world where the Bulls aren't just a turnstile on defense. Imagine a paint that isn't an all-you-can-eat buffet for opposing guards. That is the vision we need to buy into. But to get there, the front office has to be willing to play hardball. Restricted free agency is a game of chicken. You have to offer enough money to scare the original team away, but not so much that you cripple your own future. It's a high-stakes poker game, and for once, Chicago has the biggest stack of chips at the table. The question is, do they have the nerve to push them all in? Because if they play it safe again, if they try to be smart instead of bold, we are going to be having this same conversation next year, and I don't know about you, but I am running out of patience. Let's dive into the first name that could change everything. Can a 7'2" giant with a surgically repaired shoulder be the savior of Chicago's abysmal defense? Let's talk about Walker Kessler. If you have been following the NBA for the last few years, you know the name. Once upon a time, he was the crown jewel of the Utah Jazz rebuild, the guy who made the Rudy Gobert trade look like a stroke of genius. But fast forward to today, and the landscape in Salt Lake City has shifted tectonically. The Jazz made a shocking blockbuster move for former Defensive Player of the Year Jaren Jackson Jr., pairing him with Lauri Markkanen. Suddenly, that front court is crowded, expensive, and complicated. And where does that leave Kessler, on the outside looking in? The two sides couldn't agree on an extension, and after playing just 5 games before a season-ending shoulder surgery, Kessler is heading into restricted free agency with a giant question mark over his head. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Another injured big man? Are we really doing this? And that is a fair concern. The ghosts of Bulls' medical history haunt us all. But we have to look at the context of the player, not just the injury. Before he went down, Kessler was averaging 11.1 points, 12.2 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks per game. Those are not empty stats. Those are anchor of a defense numbers. He has a career field goal percentage of over 68%. He is an elite finisher and a rim-protecting savant. And let's be brutally honest about the Bulls' current situation. Our rim protection is non-existent. We have been watching Nikola Vucevic, bless his heart, he tries, get targeted in the pick and roll for years. The team allowed the 4th most points in the paint this season, after allowing the most the year prior. It is a layup line out there, folks. Historically, the Bulls have always thrived when they had a defensive enforcer in the middle. Think back to the Joakim Noah years. Noah wasn't a scorer. He was a heart and soul defender who made people think twice about driving the lane. Kessler brings that same intimidation factor. He is 24 years old, fitting perfectly into the timeline of guys like Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis. Speaking of Giddey, imagine the pick-and-roll potential. Kessler is a massive target, a screener who actually makes contact, and a lob threat that Giddey could find in his sleep. And with Buzelis showing progress as a ball handler, having a safety valve like Kessler to clean up misses or catch dump-off passes changes the geometry of the offense. The Jazz are in a bind. They have massive money tied up in Markkanen and Triple J. Can they really afford to match a toxic offer sheet for a backup center, even one as talented as Kessler? This is where the Bulls' $70 million cap space becomes a weapon. We can offer a front-loaded contract, a poison pill deal that makes it fiscally irresponsible for Utah to match. It's the kind of aggressive GM work we haven't seen in Chicago in a long time. Sure, Kessler doesn't shoot threes. He is a throwback. But in an era where everyone wants to be a unicorn, sometimes you just need a horse. You need someone to do the dirty work, to grab the rebound, to block the shot. The Bulls have tried the spacing 5 experiment. It hasn't worked defensively. Maybe it's time to go back to basics. Maybe it's time to get a true giant. Is it possible to find a wing defender who can lock down 4 positions and drop 20 points a night? If Walker Kessler is the shield, then Payton Watson is the sword. While the Kessler rumors make sense from a structural standpoint, the buzz around Payton Watson is where things get really exciting, and frankly, a little scary for the rest of the league. The Stein line reported that the Bulls are actively looking for wing upgrades, which might seem odd given we just drafted Matas Buzelis and Noah Essingay. But let me tell you something about the modern NBA. You can never, ever have enough long, athletic wings. It is an arms race, and right now the Bulls are bringing a knife to a gunfight. We need size. We need length. We need guys who can switch everything and make life miserable for the Tatums and Doncics of the world. Payton Watson fits that mold to perfection. The 23-year-old Denver Nugget stands 6'8" with a wingspan that seems to go on forever. He has shown flashes of being able to guard positions 1 through 4, displaying the kind of lateral quickness that makes scouts drool. Imagine a defensive lineup with Watson and Buzelis. Both are long, both have great instincts for the chase-down block, and both can cover ground like gazelles. It would give the Bulls a defensive identity, something we haven't had since the Thibs era. It would also provide a massive safety net for Josh Giddey, whose defensive limitations are, well, let's just call them well documented. Having 2 elite roamers behind him allows Giddey to gamble more in passing lanes and play to his strengths. But here is the twist. Watson isn't just a defensive specialist anymore. He is evolving. Before a hamstring injury slowed him down, Watson was in the midst of a breakout offensive season, averaging nearly 15 points on almost 50% shooting. In 2026, he was putting up over 21 points a night. He has improved his three-point shot to over 41%. And while we need to be cautious about small sample sizes, the eye test tells you this isn't a fluke. He is attacking the rim with aggression, getting to the free throw line, and playing with a confidence we haven't seen before. He looks like a complete player. Now, let's look at the financial reality. The Denver Nuggets are capped out. They are paying Nikola Jokic a GDP of a small country, and they have other massive contracts on the books. They simply cannot afford to keep everyone. This is the classic victim of your own success scenario. The Bulls can swoop in with an offer sheet that Denver literally cannot match without dismantling their core. It's predatory, and I love it. However, there is a risk. Are we buying high on a guy who benefited from playing next to the greatest passer in history? Is Watson a product of the Jokic system, or is he the real deal? If the Bulls throw $20 to $25 million a year at him, they are betting on the latter. It's a gamble, but in the NBA, scared money doesn't make money. If Watson is the real deal, he solves the wing scoring and defensive issues in one fell swoop. So, Chicago, are we ready to roll the dice on a future that actually looks bright? We have laid it all out on the table. We have the money, $70 million of cold, hard cap space. We have the targets, Walker Kessler, the rim-protecting giant who can anchor our defense for a decade, and Payton Watson, the two-way wing who is blossoming into a star right before our eyes. Both are restricted free agents. Both are young. Both fit the timeline of this roster perfectly. This isn't about signing aging veterans to chase the 8th seed. This is about building a foundation that can stand the test of time. This is about constructing a team that makes sense in the modern NBA. But here is the reality check. Having the money and spending it wisely are two very different things. The front office has to be precise. They have to be aggressive without being reckless. Pursuing Kessler means admitting that the Vucevic era didn't work defensively. Pursuing Watson means believing that you can develop talent outside of the shadow of a superstar like Jokic. It requires a level of scouting and conviction that we haven't always seen from this organization. And let's not forget the fans. Half of the fan base is screaming for a full tank, wanting to bottom out for high draft picks. The other half is desperate for competitive basketball again. These moves bridge that gap. They bring in young talent that helps you win now and later. If the Bulls pull this off, if they land even one of these guys, the outlook for the 2026-2027 season changes dramatically. Suddenly, you have a core, you have an identity, you have hope. But if they sit on their hands, if they sign mid-tier veterans to one-year deals again, the apathy in this city will turn into open revolt. The ball is in the court of the front office. The checkbook is open. The targets are identified. No more excuses. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Who is the bigger priority for you? Is it fixing the paint with Walker Kessler? Or is it locking down the perimeter with Payton Watson? Or do you think the Bulls should save their money for a bigger fish down the line? Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to smash that like button if you want the Bulls to finally be aggressive. Subscribe to the channel for more exclusive updates, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Until next time, stay passionate, stay hopeful, and as always, see red.